You're listening to the Crochet Conversations podcast with Inez and Mell, and this is episode 39, Quick Projects in Under a Month. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, guys.
Happy Sunday. Don't mind my raspy voice. It's incredibly early this Sunday morning, and we didn't manage to record this any earlier this week because it's been a crazy week. So you're just gonna have to listen to me with my raspy voice and Mel's not so raspy voice.
Yep.
Before we get into this episode, I just want to say a few words to some of our listeners. A couple days ago, we all woke up to the news of the war going on in Russia and Ukraine. And I know from our statistics that we do have some listeners from Russia and Ukraine. So to those listening from that region, I'm really sorry this is happening. I hope you and your family stay safe. And, it's not just people in Ukraine who are being displaced, they have no place to go. A lot of fathers and brothers and sons are being sent off to war in Russia too, so it's a lot of loved ones we've lost on top of already losing them during COVID. So we understand that this is a really difficult time and our hearts are with you. And I'm not sure what else we can do from Singapore, but know that we're keeping you in our thoughts and our prayers, and we're going to try to keep this episode as happy and lively as possible, so that wherever you are, if you're still able to listen to this, maybe this half hour, 1 hour of this episode can give you some sort of escape. Just plug in and just close your eyes for a little while. I know it doesn't do much, but at least it's our hope that it's something. So again, stay safe and keeping you in our thoughts. Okay, that was heavy. So let's get into the episode this week. We've decided to come up with this topic that I wish I knew when I first started crocheting, because if I search quick projects on YouTube or whatever, they always show me projects that I can do in a day.
Right.
Or like an hour.
Yeah,
but
I see those to do this something in 2 hours.
Yeah, but what about the 1 month long projects? Which is actually the kinds of projects that I prefer, because I think if it's 1 month, it gives you something to sink your teeth in.
Right.
It's something, I feel like it lasts longer. I've built something bigger. The sense of accomplishment is better. 1 month is not that long a time. It's not like I'm working on this whip for like 3 or 4 years.
Right.
It's not like a temperature blanket that takes a whole year to make. So we've decided to brainstorm a little bit for this episode and come up with a list of projects or type of projects that you can create in under a month.
Yeah, when I do try to search for, like quick projects, it's either really a quick one, like 2 hours, or more than like 3-4 months, on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, but 3-4 months, that's like 4 whips a year, and I'm like a multi-whip girl, so I can't do just 3 or 4 projects. But okay, sorry, before I move on to really the episode, I feel like I've got so many things to preface to this. I just want to send you guys so much love, because I think recently you guys have been listening to the truth behind machine-made crochet episode, the one we did about whether crochet can really be machine-made or not. And I think what we accidentally did was highlight the fact that crochet really comes with a heavy cost, not just for sweatshops and stuff, but also for us as makers. It takes a lot of time and effort, more so than people realize. So I've been getting so many messages from you guys talking about how you really enjoyed that episode and how you're going to send them to other people who question you at your crochet shop.
Yeah, we shed some light on that aspect, right?
Yeah, so somebody sent in a message saying it's either I send your podcast episode or I go to jail for assault, which I thought was hilarious. Because I feel the exact same way when people say that to me. So that inspired me, that particular conversation inspired me to think about a future episode coming really soon about the true cost of crochet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down minimum wage
in Singapore,
or at least in Singapore where we are, the cost of materials, and just put them together in a really nice number that people can see and understand how much it's really worth. So stay tuned for that coming up. But that won't be for another 2 or 3 more weeks, because next week is Mel's birthday.
Yes.
So happy birthday in advance, Mell. So Mel's birthday falls on Friday, I think.
Yeah.
This
it was
coming
on
Friday,
yeah.
right? This coming Friday. So Saturday and then Sunday, that episode on Sunday, we're gonna have a, X amount of facts about Mell, our co-founder.
I bet everybody's looking forward to that episode.
And she's been really stressing, guys, because when I did mine, I
Yeah.
did 20 facts, I think.
Yeah. It's harder than you think to come up with
Yep,
20
now you know.
facts. Yeah.
So she's been stressing about this. So if you're listening to this, go onto our Instagram and send her some birthday love. She's really old now.
Oh, I'm really old now. Okay.
Okay, and then, send questions if you want to prompt if there's anything you want to know about Mell.
Oh yeah, that would help a lot actually.
Yeah, our motorcycle riding, short hair, androgynous Mell, who
Wow.
only just recently learned to crochet.
Yeah.
So
That's like the summary of my life.
So if you have any questions, send it to us on our Instagram. Questions specifically for Mell, facts about her that you want to know maybe. And I will spill the tea with Mell in the next episode.
Look forward to that.
So, okay, I think we've done enough introduction. Let's really get into the episode now. So, 1 month long projects. What kind of projects can you do? And let me break down or define what 1 month is when I say 1 month, because I don't want you thinking it's like 30 days of crochet straight. You could probably do that if you're doing like a crochet along, but this is not what we're referring to, okay? So in this episode, I'm going to exclude smaller things like, like crop tops or bikini tops or like crochet bralettes, because it's basically no fabric and you can do it in like 2 hours.
Or a day, right?
Or a day, especially if you're much smaller size. If you're one of those really lucky ones that like size 0 or 1 or 2 or 4 or 6 or 8.
Okay.
If you belong to any of those sizes, you're really lucky. And crochet is so cheap and so easy and quick for you. So I'm not talking about all those things that you can do really quickly, and I'm also not talking about crochet alongs, okay?
Okay.
So these will be specific individual types of projects, so I won't go into detail about the stitch and all that, but I'll give you an overview of similar types of projects you could do that could potentially be done in under a month. So what I've done is I've broken it down to 3 different options, like schedules or timetabling that you could do in under a month, because I think it's very important for us to present a more realistic side of crochet.
Yeah.
So when we say a month, what we are referring to is either you crochet on the weekends or you crochet on weekdays a little bit, or you crochet just a tiny bit every single day.
Okay.
Because, not everyone does crochet for a living. And even if they do, it's like a side hustle. And a lot of us have day jobs. I mean, not us, but a lot of people have regular day jobs from 9 to 5 or whatever that doesn't allow them time to just sit and crochet for hours and hours on end.
Yeah, crochet probably can only be done on your free time.
Yeah, on your free time. So let me go through how we've broken it down. So let's talk about the weekend people. If you are the kind that only or want to only crochet on the weekends because you've got a busy weekday, let's assume you're working 2 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Sunday. So it could be 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. That's 2 hours on one day. Or you could be, 2 hours, you sit down, watch a movie and crochet for those 2 hours, whatever, okay? So if it's 2 hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday, that's 4 hours in one weekend.
Yeah.
And we multiply that by 4 weeks, okay, realistically, right? Because not every weekend you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
And in the months that have 5 weekends, let's just not even count that. So if you only crochet 4 hours a week and multiply that by 4 weekends, you get 16 hours.
Okay.
So I think 16 hours spread out throughout the week. Obviously, we're not saying you only crochet exclusively during that time on weekends, but, spread out throughout the week. If you do like 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there, we're just saying like the bulk of the crochet is done during the weekends.
Yeah.
Then we have team weekdays. We're going in teams now.
Yeah.
So we have team weekdays who don't want to crochet on the weekends because, weekends is they prioritize their social life. So if you only crochet on weekdays, realistically after work or after you put your kids to bed, maybe you only have about, say, half an hour minimum or whatever to crochet. Monday to Friday, that works out to about 10 hours a month, because it's 2.5 hours a week. Multiply that by 4 weeks.
Okay.
You get 10 hours a month.
Okay.
Okay. And then you get the final type of people, or the final team, which is you don't mind crocheting every single day, just a little bit throughout the day as you walk past it. Maybe after lunch you sit down and do half an hour. So this is half an hour, but for 7 days a week. So every day you're doing
do a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of something, whatever you can squeeze your time in. So after some calculation, that works out to be about 14 hours of physical crochet time per month.
Okay.
So I think on average, we're looking really at about between 10 to 16 hours. Obviously, these numbers are sort of like a ballpark figure. It's not like an exact number or anything. If certain weeks you want to do more, then obviously you accomplish more. Now we need to figure out what projects can be done between 10 to 16 hours.
I like that you put it down in numbers like that, because it's very easy for me to see and for me to understand that maybe a month-long project will take,
a certain amount
of hours. And it does sound very realistic, based on these scenarios that you've put out.
Because I think, sometimes when I speak to other makers and I say, oh, how long did you take to make this? Or maybe they ask me that, then, when I tell them, oh, about 10 hours. And they go, oh, that's easy. I could do it in a day.
Yeah.
And I'm, ma'am, have you ever sat down to crochet 10 hours straight?
Exactly, yeah.
And it's not realistic, even if it's a shawl, and theoretically you could build it up really quickly. Realistically, we're not doing that. We've got kids, we've got family, we've got parents, we've got jobs, we've got, and even for us, crochet is our job, right?
Yeah.
Crochet is our day job. But even then, we're busy doing other things.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's advisable for you to sit down and crochet for 10 hours straight.
Definitely not.
I don't think that's really good for you
not
as
good
well.
for your arm as well. You
Yeah.
get fatigued easily. And,
Exactly.
I have another episode where I talked about setting yourself up for crochet success.
Yeah.
And one of the things is to really support your body. Because without your body, there is no crochet.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, or other times I talk to somebody else and they say they took 2 weeks to crochet this. It's also not very realistic. You could take 2 weeks turnover time to get something out to a customer, but that also includes your rest time within those 2 weeks.
Yeah, we cannot forget that.
Yeah, so I think there is this difference between the turnover time, which is how long it takes for me to get my crochet stuff to you, the customer, versus how much time I actually spend stitching.
Yeah.
One double crochet after another painful double crochet.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've made a little list. It's not a very long list, so let me see, you can hear my book here. So in this list, I've put together certain types of projects that you can do. So let's just jump right in. Number 1 on my list are simple tote bags, and this is really talking about being closer to the 10-hour type. If you only want to do a little bit a day, a huge tote bag, like a market bag, I'm not talking about a small size, maybe 15 inches by 18 inches and above. That takes time because it's one big fabric. It's almost a quarter of a scarf if you're talking about making in one big piece. And if you want to add the straps, if you want to add the pockets, including the inner lining with the zip, if you want to go all out and really get a really nice bag done, you could do a simple tote bag. It could just be in one big piece, fold it over and sew the sides up. Or you could do it, crocheting around and build up your bag that way. And the reason I say a tote bag is because I just recently completed a tote bag. I think I mentioned this in our previous episode. And I did it in milk cotton, and it's already a chunky cotton. But if you want to do a mosaic or an overlay, I think that would take you a little bit more time, maybe closer to the 16 hours or so. But that's a really easy, simple, no-brainer project that you could just sit, watch your television, and churn something out.
Okay.
Kind of in the same family would be a granny square bottom bag. If you are pushing closer to the 10-hour mark and you need to get something out and you can only do a little bit every day, I think the granny square bottom bag would be perfect, because it's essentially you're making one hella big granny square with just a little modification on the sides to build it up, the side walls of your bag. And I initially thought that this granny square bottom bag would take a lot faster, but I have a lot of students recently who are at about the same place in my crochet fundamentals course that they're reaching the point where they're doing granny square bags, and it's taken them approximately a month, so between 3 weeks to 4 weeks to get it done. So because of that, I realized, oh, okay, it does take a little bit longer than I thought, 3 weeks to 4 weeks to get a granny square bottom bag, especially if they're using really thin yarn and they want to do lots of color change. And obviously this includes sewing in the ends. So when I say, one and done in under a month, I'm saying, including sewing in the straps and,
right,
finishing your tails.
Totally complete, like a usable product
because we all know that your crochet journey doesn't end on your final stitch. It's all the freaking tails that you've got to sew in. If there's any blocking that needs to be done, you have to incorporate an hour for that, because it takes you time. It doesn't just block itself, right?
Of course, yeah. So
I think about 3 to 4 weeks that will work. Alternatively, if we're talking about granny squares, you could do the granny square where you do like 9 pieces and you individually piece them together. And this is Mel's favorite, right?
Yeah.
Because she's smiling to herself now.
Super doable, this granny square and anything.
Yeah, and granny square is the reason why I say it's Mel's favorite, because if you've been listening, in a previous episode we talked about how Mell did her granny square cardigan.
Yeah.
And stitching all the freaking squares together took so much longer.
Yeah.
And she was about to give up after the first panel.
Yeah, but I've been trying to build on, another cardigan as well. And as you start building up on that, it gets so much bigger and so much heavier, I guess, to maneuver it. So I guess at the end of the day, building like individual granny squares works better. At least.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
That's what I agree. And you could do like 2 squares a day. You could finish maybe 2 squares in like an hour. If you only have half an hour, then just maybe do 1 square, right? Or if you're doing them in the assembly line method, do you know what that is?
No, what?
It's when you finish round 1 and you start round 20 round 1s.
Oh.
And then you change color and you do round 2 for all the 20 round 2. So basically you're doing all the squares at the same time. You're just finishing one row and you're stopping it. You go into the next one.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's assembly line. Granny square. I think it works. I think it's faster.
Okay, maybe I'll try that the next time.
Yeah, because you're not working. I don't know. In my opinion, it's a little bit faster.
Okay.
You're not.
I can see that, like, why it might be faster.
Yeah, I think to do one granny square on its own, finish it, clean it up, and then start all over again on the next one. It's mentally draining, I think. It's exhausting because you feel like you've completed and then you've got to start over again, and it's the sense of, oh my god, I completed one more square.
Yeah. But
actually, no, you didn't. You've got like 20 more.
Yeah, okay. And I guess if I am working on a time constraint, if anything that can make it faster, I will give it a try. Yeah, so, the minimum granny square bag, say if you're doing 9 squares on one side, that's 18. If you want to do it bigger, you could be like 24 or whatever. Right.
However your number is, it's really up to you. And there are so many ways of stitching a granny square bag together.
Right.
On the diagonal, whatever. And so I think if you've only got a month, a granny square bag like this would be perfect. And you can, if you do really neutral colors, you could have such a classy looking bag, I think.
Yeah,
it's not always like the orange and the purple
or the rainbow color.
Yeah. So unless you're Pride, unless you're celebrating Pride like us, then maybe you want it in rainbow. But I prefer a more neutral tone, so I think this granny square bag would be quite perfect for it. So moving on now to the next type of project you could do is a C2C stitched anything. Anything that's done up in C2C would be pretty quick, I think.
Yeah.
So when I talk about C2C, I'm not really referring to a specific project, but projects that you can build up in C2C. So, in this case, I've just written down maybe 2 options, like a baby blanket or like a scarf, or I think even like a queen size blanket could work. I think I did my queen size blanket pretty quickly in C2C. It's just that there was like 6 months in between where I didn't touch it. But if I recall, I think the actual stitching time was like under 20 hours, I think.
Yeah, I think
right?
so.
Because when I picked it up, I completed it within like, a day?
Yeah.
No. That's unrealistic. Like 2 days. Okay, let's say 2 days.
Okay, a couple of days, yeah.
Yeah. So I think anything done up in C2C, because the stitch itself builds up so quickly, and I've mentioned this in my favorite crochet stitches episode. I really love how quickly it builds up.
Yeah, I do like C2C as well. I think the stitch itself, it's easy to move. You get what I mean? It's very seamless.
Yeah, it's using double crochets and slip stitches. It's not anything complicated. And the best part is you determine the height and the length as you go along. So that's basically taking out a lot of guesswork.
Right.
And the best part, you don't have to swatch when it comes to a C2C.
You don't have to swatch?
I mean, you have to swatch for the actual thing itself, but when you're doing the project, say a blanket, you don't have to swatch for the blanket per se.
Right, because you're building it as big as you want it to go, right?
Yeah, you just build it until you feel happy with the length, and then you stop, and then you build upwards. You do a decrease on one side, you increase on the other side, and you just repeat that all the time. And when you're about to finish your project, that's the most awesome part about C2C, because every row you're doing lesser and lesser stitches.
Right, yeah.
Because you're doing a decrease on both sides to close the corner. And so anything you want to do in C2C. Okay, now let me give you a real life example. I have a 15-year-old student. She has really short attention span, just like every other 15-year-old in the TikTok generation.
Okay.
So she needs projects that, let me just give you an example. Her attention span is 4 granny squares. And she tried to make one of those really trendy, granny square pastel Harry Styles looking cardigan with lots of squares, but she only managed to get as far as 4 granny squares, and she's like, I am giving up.
Oh no.
I need to move on. This is so boring to me, she said.
Right.
So 4 granny squares is the max, so we just turned that into a little pencil case. But when her friend was going away, it's like a leaving gift.
Okay, a farewell gift.
Yeah, like a farewell gift, yeah. She managed to crochet her a C2C scarf in one night.
Wow, one night.
Yeah, her mom was so proud of her. Her mom came and told me, you have no idea, you're so proud of her when you hear what she did, and she was like beaming from ear to ear. When I say she, I mean the mother.
Oh, okay. Oops.
So that gives you an example of how quick it is. And if you're somebody with a really short attention span, C2C is perfect for that.
Yeah.
And I really like that because, I'm lazy. So
I do want to say though that it's pretty amazing about how crochet is. You can take 4 granny squares that your intention was to build like a cardigan to just turn it into a pencil case. I think that's pretty smart.
Yeah, so if you didn't listen to a previous episode, remember we did the episode about the wonderful world of granny squares?
Yes, I remember
and that was such a fun episode to prepare for, because the possibilities are literally endless. Like, you can't see me now, but I'm like grabbing my hair because I'm just so amazed at how much you can do with just basic granny squares, right? But anyway, this portion is about C2C.
Oh yes, okay, let's move on.
So let's move on to C2C. So yeah, C2C, anything like a scarf or a blanket, a baby blanket,
Yeah.
Lots of people are having babies post-pandemic, so maybe a
I
baby
do think
blanket.
That baby anything, it should be possible to do within a month. Yeah?
Not necessarily. It really depends on the person's schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, you could do anything in under a month if you like sit down and crochet non-stop, right? That's how sweatshops work.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
But we ain't no sweatshop.
Yeah.
So realistically, with jobs and with family and with responsibility, I think anything like a bigger C2C project would be wonderful.
Okay.
Oh, I have to mention that I think this would also work really well for a more complex C2C project. So you're not just doing a basic corner to corner, but you're doing like corner to corner tapestry, where you actually build up the patterns and use different bobbins and whatnot. And I think it gives you a more elegant, a more elevated look. It's more visual interest because you're working with different colors and shapes, and you're specifically using the squares to block out and make little patterns, kind of like pixels on an image.
Oh, okay.
So even if you wanted to do something more complex like that, I think it's really realistic to do this project in under a month.
Okay, so basically an advanced sort of C2C I would be able to do. Okay.
Yes, I think that would be perfect. I have not done any myself, because I've been really afraid to start working with bobbins because, you know, I've got 2 animals in the house and I've got 2 kids in the house, and I'm just so afraid. You know, I'm such a control freak when it comes to my yarn.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid that things are going to get tangled, and, you know, the cat will get into the yarn, and then the dog thinks it's his toy.
I probably need to section out an area and say, like, do not cross this line.
Yeah,
don't touch.
I think that's something that you could try if you are. I think this would be pushing closer to the 15-16 hour mark.
Okay, but still realistic, yeah.
Yeah, incredibly doable. So this next portion, I'm going to talk about my personal favorite project to do in under a month, and this would be yoke down crochet tops.
Oh, okay. Is that the one that I'm gonna do next?
Yes,
Okay.
you are about to embark on your own. Oh, you know what? Since we're talking about it, I'm gonna interject this episode with a little bit of a story for you. You guys know how I'm like the multi-whip, like the poly whip girl.
Yes.
And Mell is mono whip girl.
Yes.
Okay, right now, Mell is forced to abandon her cardigan and move on to the next project. Would you like to explain why and how that makes you feel?
I don't know, because the cardigan that I'm working on now, I've kind of ran out of yarn and I'm waiting for like more supplies to come in, so I am forced to take a pause on that. Therefore, I've decided to move on to like my next project. I don't know, I guess it's a little bit frustrating.
You should see,
You know,
it's killing her.
I am so afraid that once I start on this, you know, I won't go back to my first one. I don't know.
I think
Am I overthinking it?
I think we just need to welcome you into the world of many whips. You know, Mell has been so
I'm dual whip. I've advanced to
dual whip.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Mell has been so diligent. She's been so ultra disciplined when it comes to her whip. So she will only do this one whip until it's done.
Yeah.
You know, so the idea that, okay, basically she's doing like a really long kimono length yarn, and we miscalculated. We made it initially, we bought like 8 balls of yarn.
Yeah.
And this is like tweed wool, right? We bought 8. But actually we think you need closer to 10.
Yeah, because
But at that
it's
time,
like a much longer one. Yeah.
yeah, at that time we didn't expect to build it up so long. But you know how it is, as you're building something, you're kind of adjusting it as you go, and then you're like, oh, actually I kind of want to add a few more rows here.
Yeah.
Maybe the cuff, I want it to be a little bit
Yeah,
longer
I guess
or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes for clothes it's just the way it is, right? After you put it on, then you kind of need to make adjustments along the way.
Yeah, so we did that, and then we realized that we're lacking. So she has a kimono with like no sleeves.
Yeah, because I'm always so motivated. I mean, that's me, right? I'm motivated to finish that whip that I'm currently working on, right? So for me to stop that and to move on to another one, it's so frustrating, you know, because I feel like I haven't accomplished anything for the first one yet, you know.
But you are excited for your next project, right?
Yes, yeah. I've never done a top before, so yeah.
Like an actual top,
Yeah,
right?
actual
Not
top,
not
yeah.
just like a cardigan or what.
Correct.
Okay, so basically, what Mell is about to embark on her next project would be what I'm gonna share with you guys today, and my favorite kinds of projects to do, which is crochet top down or yoke down top. So basically, you start around the neckline, and your entire top is built in one piece. So you work around the neckline, you just basically work in a circle
Okay.
around until you get like the collar or the cuff area, and then you skip a bunch of stitches that go under your arm, and you continue building in a round,
okay.
down until you get the the bodice or the body portion,
Or the length.
or the
too,
length
I
you want. Yeah.
Okay.
So you could easily stop at like a crop top, length. You could easily do it a bit longer. You could even bring it all the way down to a dress if you wanted to.
Wow, okay.
And then obviously if you want the sleeves a bit longer, you just attach yarn to the sleeves and you build it down. So no paneling, everything is done in one piece. It's really quickly to make. In fact, for me personally, if I crochet about 8 hours a day, I can finish it in 3 days.
Okay.
So this is like 16 to maybe 20 hours or so. Obviously this is pushing a little bit more, closer past the 16-hour mark, but I think it's entirely doable if you were to do like a couple rows a day. If you are doing like a summer top that's a little bit more lacy or has more holes in between, you could definitely do it within 15 hours.
Right.
It's just that for me, I did a bunch of color change. I wanted like a nautical theme, you know, so mine took a
Right.
little bit longer.
A little
but
bit more complicated, yeah.
yeah, but it's entirely doable, and yoke down crochet tops are so fun and easy to do. Everything is in one piece. I don't have to deal with sewing panels together, because to me that's like the worst, right? I
Right.
hate sewing in ends, and so having to leave a really long tail to use
attach,
that to
yeah,
attach
one piece
is
to
like,
the other, yeah.
annoys me, because then it tickles my leg, and when I move it around it's like flying everywhere, and like I'd rather not. So I've been on a mission to make myself like a bunch, you know, like 12 top yoke down crochet tops, like one top a month,
Oh.
and like have a full collection by the end of the year.
Okay.
Isn't that
That's-
exciting?
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
a pretty huge project, but at least now I know mine would take about a month to complete if, you know, I work continuously on it. I don't have an excuse of having like 30 other whips to pending, you know.
Okay, but I think for you, because I know how you are, like when you really like sink your teeth into something, you really go at it. So I think it would take you a little bit faster than that. I'm not surprised if you do a little bit every day, you finish it in a week. So
Okay, no pressure.
I think you could do it like in under like 10 hours.
Okay,
And plus the yarn that you're using is pretty thick, right?
yeah.
Yeah, Mell's yarn, she has this really beautiful like acrylic cotton that is like a dark,
Almost denim.
yeah, it's
colour
almost like a
look,
denim heather with some grey kind of look.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. And I told Mel, if it's not enough for you, I'm
She
taking
has
it.
her eye on it. She's gonna steal it if I don't, you know, quickly do something with it.
Yeah, because
already.
you know, it's I want it.
Yeah.
We have to fight over yarn now. But anyway, so this is a type of project that you could do. To build on it, you may not always want to do like a yoke down. You could do a simple top that is like 2 panels, one back panel, one front panel. You know, do it long enough so that it's like a cap sleeve. You don't have to build on sleeve, so it's just literally one square or
2 squares, yeah.
or you know, rectangle for the back panel and an identical one for the front panel.
Okay.
And you have like a scoop neck top, like a
Right.
boat neck, or you could do like a V-neck, you know, just separate your stitches in the middle and they just decrease on one side until you get like a V-neck, and just stitch the arms, the sides together. You could totally do that in under a month, I think. You know, those really are my favorite kinds of tops to do. I just been really, ever since I discovered yoke down crochet tops, I've just been addicted to making them, and I hope that I will have the patience to do a dress, like a yoke down
Okay.
dress, but I haven't quite decided on the kind of yarn that I want to use for it yet. So
Right.
it's still pending a little bit, but it's on my to-do list definitely to add to another one of my 10,000 ribs.
Yeah, okay. And now I'm really excited to start on it.
If you don't do it, I swear I'm gonna take
Stop
that
it!
yarn.
Stop trying to steal my yarn.
Anyway, let's move on to the final type of project that you can do. Okay, so this is also a project that I like, and I'm about to start. I feel like I keep saying I'm about to start on projects, but I really am about to start on this. This is a triangle shawl, but a virus shawl.
Okay.
But the project is any sort of triangle shawl. So any shawl that's built up in the triangle shape would definitely work for under a month, because you don't actually have that many rows, and each time you build, I think it's kind of similar to the C2C. Each time you build a row, you're actually increasing the length of it as you go. So you could just stop at any time and have a
Right.
different size, you know, scarf. And if you want a bigger scarf, just keep going, row after row, or like row repeat after row repeat, right? So some examples would be like a virus shawl, or basically the German shells shawl. You could also do like those really cute ones with a skull. So if you do like an all black yarn, the way the stitch pattern builds up is you have like many skulls side by side.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cute. It's like a crochet version of the Alexander Wang, you know, the
right.
the scarf, the
Okay,
skull
yeah, that's
scarf.
That's cute, yeah.
Yeah, you could also do like, you could also build up the triangle shawl in like granny square clusters.
But I always do see all these shawls, right? The pattern is pretty complex, or at least it looks complex to me.
It only looks complex because you're working with many row repeats, but if you really learn the stitch itself, if you understand how it's built up, it's only like 4 or 5 row repeats.
I see.
And they make so much sense to me, and you're only actually doing half a scarf, half the triangle.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then you build down the other half, which is identical. So if I fold this triangle in half, you have another two smaller triangles, right?
Yeah.
So it's symmetrical on both sides. So if you ever get lost on your stitch pattern, you just gotta look at the row below and see what you did. Or you look at the part where you just went past the peak of the triangle and you see what you did on the other side, and you just reverse that process.
Right, okay, yeah.
So obviously the easiest one would be a 3DC cluster, which is the granny square cluster, granny square, granny triangle, or you know, triangle shawl or whatever.
Yeah. Because
you work into the space between the stitches, you're not working into the stitch. But that could really work if you're using like a really thin, like a size, like a 2, like a sport or baby weight yarn, you know, like under the category 2. So the granny square clusters are really small together. You could get something really nice, really like intricate looking.
Yeah.
Something that drapes really nicely. I think it really elevates the look of like granny square clusters. Or you could do just a solid double crochet entirely all the way. You just do an increase at the start and the end, and you do the peak, and it's just double crochet all the way.
Yeah, and I guess for a shawl, the look of it is not, you know, supposed to be really tight stitches together.
Yeah,
so
you want it a little bit looser,
Yeah.
a little bit nicer. So this 15-year-old student that I talked about, she also did a triangle shawl like this that is so pretty looking because she chose like a light milk chocolate type of brown.
Okay.
She did like a really pretty strawberry pink, and she did like a nice like buttercup yellow. So all of these 3 colors together reminded me of the Neapolitan ice cream, where it's, you know, 3 different
Right,
colors.
yes, okay. Yeah.
And so I've been calling it the ice cream shawl.
The
and
ice cream shawl.
The colors she chose were so pretty, and it really reminds me of ice cream. So, you know, it's just depending on how you want it. All you have to do is switch up colors and switch up patterns, you know, stitch patterns.
Yeah.
You could experiment with different stitch patterns. And triangle shawls, you know, you're probably only doing like 40 or 50 rows. I mean,
Okay.
depending on how big you want it.
Right.
But that's the beauty of it, like a C2C.
Yeah.
You just build it up. When you're happy with the length, you stop.
Yeah. So even though it's a simple pattern, depending on, you know, the colors that you put in, it can look really intricate and you know, complex.
Yeah, and there are some patterns that only use 1 ball of yarn for it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not only quick to build up, you know, it's also only using 1 ball of yarn, so it's really cost efficient. It just uses a really thin yarn. I don't remember the ball, but it's like a cake. It's like a 400-gram ball cake. So you just build it up, and it's like the cake already is in like a really pretty ombre color.
Yeah.
So you get a triangle shawl that is built like graduals, like ombres. The color's so pretty.
Right.
And it's just a nice project to have all in one ball. Just pick it up, finish a row as you go along, and under a month, I think. Let's say if I were to give it a number, I mean, realistically, we're obviously pushing the 16-hour mark, I think.
Okay.
But you could definitely finish this a lot quicker. And there it is. There is the list of things, of projects that you can complete in under a month. I think I should do a little recap. So let me just do a recap quickly for you guys. Okay, you could do like simple tote bags that's in one piece folded over, or you could do it in a round. You could do like granny square something, you know, like whether it's assembly line or a granny square bottom bag. I feel like this episode we've talked a lot about granny squares. You could even do like the granny square triangle shawl.
Yeah, because I'm so biased on granny squares, well, I can attest to how easy it is to do granny squares, and I love it.
Yeah, we love our granny squares. But anyway, you could do that, or you could build up anything in C2C stitches that would also work really fast. Another option which is my personal option, is the crochet top yoke down top. And then you could either do like a 2 panels front and back, or you could just do this regular yoke down top that's all done in one piece. You know, fun story, Mel actually has tried to time me before because, you know, there are times where I'm building out a project and I just feel like it takes forever.
Yeah.
And so we, you know, it's just one of those funny things that we wanted to do together. So we tried to, what was it, like time the number of stitches, like how long I took to do a stitch. So
yeah, I was like, okay, ready, go.
Yeah, so I had to position myself at the start of the row, and then she would go like, ready, go.
Yeah.
And then I would crochet as fast as I could, or sometimes, you know, I try to do it at my regular speed. You know, it's actually much harder to crochet at your regular speed, knowing that you're being
timed,
being timed. And then when I'm about done, I'll be okay, get ready in 3, 2, okay, stop.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh, you did like whatever the number was. We don't remember. It was just something we did for fun.
Yeah.
But we tried to, you know, like
multiply that and do like a calculation to like how long you would take to, for example,
finish
complete
project,
this something. Yeah.
I don't remember what the number was. I don't even think we were like very serious about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You should. This is like a great idea. If you should time yourself how long it takes you to do up your swatch.
Yeah.
So along with counting your rows and your stitches, like give yourself a timing.
Yeah, like an average time, right?
Yeah, so then you can multiply that. As you're multiplying how many, you know, like to do your swatch, you can sort of have a gauge how long that would take you to do your project.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I came across a website that calculates how much time it would take for me to crochet something by keying in specific like fuse, like how much yarn I would need or how long I would take.
This is a website?
Yeah, it's a website.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure how reliable it is because I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, thinking about you saying, you know, giving a specific number like 16 hours to do a project within a month, I was thinking if I input all the fields and if it comes out with a number like, okay, you would need a total
like X amount of numbers. Do you also get to input like your skill level? Like, are you a beginner or intermediate?
I can't really remember how complex the form
field
is.
was?
Yeah. But it's interesting to think about that.
Wow. We should link it in the show notes so that you guys can go. I didn't know any of this when I first started, because when I first started 10 years ago, there really wasn't very many like crochet stuff online.
Yeah.
Or at least not that I could find in Singapore. So I didn't have any of that. I didn't know how long it would take me to finish projects.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. We should try. You know what? We should try and then compare that to something we have done and see how accurate that actually is.
Exactly, because I'm going to start on my top soon, right? So I was thinking of using that as an example and, you know, putting it in all the information and to see how accurate that is.
Yeah, and I mentioned that I'm about to start my virus shawl, the triangle shawl, and I think a virus shawl is it's a pretty common pattern. So maybe I'll be able to see what the calculator says and compare that to whether it's actually true or not.
Yeah, but basically I like the idea that if I do have a time, I can equate that to 20 hours is a month, or 10 hours is how long or how many days. Yeah, and easy for me to plan that way.
I agree. I do think it's a lot easier to plan when you know the exact number of hours. And like I said, it's not exact, but it's like a ballpark figure. But if you know you need like 20 hours for this, it's so much easier to plan like half an hour a day. Maybe I take a break today, but do 1 hour tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to saying to someone, this will take you like a month, full stop.
Yeah.
And that sounds so daunting, and I don't think it's accurate too.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's also not realistic because what is 1 month? Are you crocheting every single day? Or, like you say, during the weekends only, which I think that's pretty common.
Yep, I agree. And I just think it's nice to have this information. Ultimately, everybody crochets at a different speed, and something that takes me 10 hours might take you 20 hours,
Yeah,
so just
true.
keep in mind that this is also coming from our point of view, and then you adjust accordingly. So if you are, a beginner listening to this podcast and you think, oh my god, we've got 10 years of experience, it takes us this amount, maybe I'll double that, then just keep that number as a reference for yourself. But if you have, say, like 20 years on us, and then the stitches inside out, if it takes us 10 hours, maybe for you it's like 5 hours.
Yeah.
You just got to adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's also pretty, I wouldn't say accurate, but you know, my experience versus like Inez experience is totally different. She
True
can
that, that's very
crochet,
true.
you know, while watching the TV, and I'm someone that I need to sit and really focus, you know, on my stitches. So, you know, I think that's quite a fair kind of, you know, range of experience, you know, to talk about here.
You know, it's funny when Mel and I sit on the couch and watch something and crochet together. So Mel, these days, she would actually, you know, suggest, after dinner, can we like sit down and crochet for like half an hour, please? And then so, because I usually never crochet outside the studio, I like to keep a very clear like visual or mental boundary between working in the studio and when I'm out, say in the living area or in the television room. I don't try to bring my crochet out, but because she's been saying, can we watch something and crochet, then I bring my work out. But it's so funny because Mel cannot concentrate on the show. So every like 10 minutes or so she's going, hang on, can you pause? Like
rewind.
Can you rewind
yeah.
that part? Because I just wasn't focused. Yeah. So it's been an experience trying to find, you know, that good middle ground. So I think that's kind of funny. If you guys have listened to all this ramble so far, thank you for making it to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to us. And so if you have any other questions, you know, feel free to contact us on Instagram or Facebook. You know where to find us. We are at Crooked Crochet SG. I love reading your messages. I really do. It just brings such joy, and like, you know, I run to Mel and I say, we have another message, and then you know, I read it out to her. And or if you have questions, or if you want to contribute to this episode with your own questions or your own quick questions, send us a voice message or a voice note that we can include in this episode. You can WhatsApp or iMessage them to us at +65 9127 2743. You know, we mentioned that Mel's birthday is coming up next week and she's stuck with her episode planning, so
yeah, so you can also send in I don't know,
your
things,
questions,
things that you want to know.
Also like personal things, like get really personal with
really okay.
Because I think I went pretty personal with mine, you know, with what I do, and I was really open about you know, my tarot and everything. So ask Mel really personal questions, okay? And then so she has something to prepare for next week.
Yeah.
Or if you need to find us on our email, you can email us at crookedcrochetsg@gmail.com. All the information, I will put them in the show notes, so just, you know, click the show more and you can see all of them.
Yeah, and share all your projects that you guys also do, you know, within a month.
And tell me how long it took you to do it.
You know, whether what we are saying is pretty realistic for you guys or not. And check back every Sunday, especially next Sunday, for the most exciting episode. Where we go deep and talk about me, Mel. Every Sunday at 12 noon, Singapore time.
And that's Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys stay really, really safe. Again, our thoughts and our love and all our good wishes go to everyone in Russia and Ukraine, and also, you know, Poland. You know, your hearts are so big to take them in, and stay safe, everybody. Keep your family and your children close, and I hope that this hour or so that you spend with us has been, you know, a little bit more fun and relaxing, and we will see you again in the next episode.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.